Three's Company, 1976 to 1984, was a groundbreaking sitcom that captured audiences with its witty humor, iconic characters, and unforgettable misunderstandings. The show turned its cast into household names, but behind the laughter, their real lives were filled with ups and downs. Now, 48 years later, what has happened to the beloved stars of this classic series? Some continue to shine in Hollywood, while others face career struggles, personal tragedies, and heartbreaking losses. From untimely deaths to health battles and unexpected turns in their lives, the journey of the Three's Company cast has been anything but predictable. Join us as we uncover where they are in 2025. John Ritter was born on September 17, 1948, and at 28, he played Jack Tripper in Three's Company in 1976. Jack was the charming, lovable, and often clumsy chef who pretended to be gay to share an apartment with two women, embodying Ritter's unmatched skill for physical comedy and lighthearted humor. However, behind his on-screen persona was a man who faced profound personal struggles. Ritter's career took off with Three's Company, but his rise to fame was not without significant personal pain. He went through tumultuous marriages, with his first marriage to Nancy Morgan ending in divorce after 13 years. His second marriage to Amy Yasbeck, with whom he had a daughter, was filled with its own set of challenges, but their bond was solidified when their son, Tyler, was born. Yet, their happiness was marred by Ritter's deep insecurities and health problems. He was constantly battling his internal demons, struggling with the pressures of maintaining his comedic image while dealing with personal insecurities. His relationship with his children, particularly his daughter, was strained due to the constant time away from home. The sudden death of John Ritter on September 11, 2003, at the age of 54 from an aortic dissection, left a legacy of unfulfilled potential. Despite being adored by millions, his life was tragically cut short, leaving his family and fans in deep grief. Suzanne Somers was born on October 16, 1946, and at the age of 31, she became a household name when she portrayed Chrissy Snow on Three's Company in 1977. Chrissy was a naive, ditzy secretary who became the heart of the show with her comedic timing and endearing innocence. Though her career was launched into stardom by Three's Company, Suzanne faced an ongoing battle with her career choices. After a publicized contract dispute with the producers of Three's Company, she was famously written off the show, a devastating blow to her career and her self-esteem. Despite her beauty and public persona, Suzanne's personal life was filled with tragedy. She married her first husband, Bruce Somers, at a young age, and though they had a child together, they eventually divorced. Her second marriage to Alan Hamill was more stable, but it didn't shield her from the challenges of growing older in an industry that often rejected older women. Suzanne also faced health challenges, notably a battle with cancer, which she openly shared with the public, despite the fear of it damaging her career. Her life was marked by a series of ups and downs, and after years of struggling with personal and professional challenges, Suzanne Somers passed away on October 15, 2023, at the age of 76. Don Knotts was born on July 21, 1924, and at 55, he stepped into the role of Ralph Furley on Three's Company in 1979. Ralph was the bumbling, eccentric landlord who, despite his many failings in romance, believed himself to be a ladies' man. Knotts brought his signature awkwardness and physical comedy to the role, earning him the affection of fans. However, Don's personal life was marked by deep loneliness and sadness, in stark contrast to the joyful characters he portrayed. Knotts' career had been highly successful, but it was also filled with struggles, including a failed marriage to his first wife, Catherine Metz, with whom he had 2 children. After their divorce, Knotts remarried to Laura Lee, but the marriage was troubled, and they eventually separated. His marriages were never filled with the happiness he sought, and he spent much of his life coping with a deep sense of loneliness. Though Knotts enjoyed immense success on screen, his personal life was riddled with sorrow. His struggles with anxiety and depression were largely kept out of the public eye, adding a layer of tragedy to his image as the bumbling, lovable goofball. He passed away on February 24, 2006, at the age of 81, from pulmonary and respiratory complications, leaving behind a legacy of comedic brilliance. Audra Lindley was born on September 24, 1918, and in 1976, at 58 years old, she took on the role of Helen Roper in Three's Company, a character marked by frustration and wit. Helen Roper, married to the grumpy and unfaithful Stanley, was a woman trapped in a loveless marriage, filled with sarcasm and bitterness. Audra's portrayal of Helen as a disillusioned housewife with sharp humor struck a chord with audiences, capturing the everyday pain of a woman enduring an unsatisfactory relationship. Her career, however, was full of disappointments. Although Audra was a seasoned actress, she had to spend much of her early years in supporting roles on television, often typecast as the dowdy, older woman. Despite earning recognition for her stage work, she never received the film success she desired. Audra's personal life reflected the same unfulfilled yearning she brought to her portrayal of Helen. She had been married twice, but both unions ended in divorce. She had no children, which left her with a sense of isolation that deepened as she aged. Her later years were marked by loneliness, exacerbated by health problems that kept her from working. Audra's final years were spent in relative obscurity, with no major roles or public appearances. On October 16, 1997, Audra Lindley passed away at the age of 79, after a prolonged battle with health issues. Norman Fell was born on March 24, 1924, and at 52, he became famous for portraying Stanley Roper, the suspicious and grumpy landlord in Three's Company starting in 1976. Stanley, with his unrelenting bitterness and jealous nature, often provided the comedic foil to his wife, Helen. Though he found great success in television, Norman's career was marked by missed opportunities and a consistent struggle to break free from roles that did not showcase his full potential. While he had several notable roles in both film and television, including The Towering Inferno, 1974, he was continually relegated to playing grumpy or authoritarian figures. His personal life was just as turbulent as his professional one. Norman's marriage to actress and model Lynn Sellers ended in divorce after several years, and they had one daughter together. He struggled with maintaining relationships, and the impact of this instability haunted him throughout his life. By the time his career began to slow in the early 1990s, Norman was battling the toll of aging, both mentally and physically. He was diagnosed with bone cancer, and his health rapidly deteriorated in the years that followed. He passed away on December 14, 1998, at 74. His death came quietly, following a battle with cancer that left him weakened and withdrawn. Brad Blaisdell was born on March 15, 1949, and played Mike, the bartender, on Three's Company starting in 1981 at the age of 32. Mike was the friendly, approachable character who became the confidant to many of the show's main characters. Despite being a secondary role, Mike was central to many pivotal moments in the show, offering advice and support to the main trio. However, Brad's career did not follow the trajectory one might have hoped after his role on the popular sitcom. While he earned respect for his portrayal of Mike, he struggled to land significant roles afterward. His personal life was marked by deep challenges, with a marriage that eventually fell apart, leaving him alone and emotionally devastated. He had 2 children, but his relationships with them were strained as his life spiraled further into addiction. Brad's battles with substance abuse and depression grew worse after the show ended, and he faced financial hardship for many years, living in relative obscurity. His health began deteriorating, and in 2018, he was diagnosed with cancer. Despite undergoing treatment, the disease claimed his life on December 26, 2018, at the age of 69, marking the tragic end to a life full of potential that had been marred by personal and professional turmoil. And Wedgeworth was born on January 21, 1934, and in 1979, at 45 years old, she joined Three's Company as Lana Shields, a flirtatious and aggressive character who had a fondness for Jack Tripper. Anne's portrayal of Lana was memorable, yet it was her only significant role that gained lasting recognition, marking a point where her career began to reflect the disparity between her talents and the opportunities presented to her. Anne's early career was filled with small but impactful roles, particularly on Broadway, where she showed great promise as a versatile actress. However, her transition into film and television was full of disappointments, and the promise of stardom never materialized. Her personal life mirrored the struggles of her career. Anne was married twice, and both marriages ended in divorce. She had one daughter, but her family life was marred by the inability to maintain stable relationships. Her career's waning success was followed by years of personal difficulties as she faced financial instability and declining health. In her later years, Anne became more reclusive, and despite some appearances in smaller projects, she was often overlooked. She passed away on November 16, 2017, at the age of 83, her death marking the end of a career that never fully realized its potential. William Pearson was born on July 17, 1926, and played Dean Travers, the pompous and often strict character, on Three's Company starting in 1977 when he was 51 years old. Dean Travers was a character who consistently made life difficult for Jack Tripper, creating tension and comedy within the storyline. While Pearson's role as the overly serious Dean earned him recognition, his career afterward was less than stellar. Pearson found it difficult to break free from typecasting, with few roles coming his way after the show ended. Personal troubles plagued him as well, including a failed marriage that ended in bitter divorce. Despite remarrying later in life, his second marriage was also strained, leading to further emotional distress. Though he had children, Pearson's relationship with them was distant, and his struggles with depression were well known. Professionally, he fell into a downward spiral, unable to secure major roles in his later years. He faced mounting financial problems and, after his career came to an abrupt halt, battled a deep sense of regret for not capitalizing on his earlier fame. William Pearson passed away on August 27, 2004, at the age of 78, leaving behind a legacy of unfulfilled potential. Richard Kline was born on April 29, 1944. He played Larry Dallas in Three's Company starting in 1977 when he was 33 years old. Larry was the charming yet sleazy neighbor who was often embroiled in humorous, sometimes inappropriate schemes, and served as a comic foil to the more serious characters. While Kline's portrayal of Larry provided much-needed levity, his real-life journey was much more tragic. Though Three's Company brought him fame, his career stalled shortly after the show ended. Despite his efforts to break into other projects, he found himself relegated to minor television roles that failed to match the success he had as Larry. His personal life mirrored his character's difficulties. Richard had several failed marriages, the first to a woman named Deborah in the late 1960s, and then to another woman in the late 1980s. Neither marriage lasted long, and he found himself distanced from his children, a son and a daughter, both of whom grew up in broken homes. His struggle with alcohol only deepened the rift in his personal life. In the 1990s, Richard was involved in a near-fatal car accident that left him with serious injuries, both physical and emotional. By 2025, at the age of 80, Kline is now living in a small, modest apartment in Los Angeles, far removed from the fame of his past. Joyce DeWitt was born on April 23, 1949, and played Janet Wood on Three's Company starting in 1976 when she was 27 years old. Janet was the voice of reason and stability among the chaos of her two roommates, providing a grounding force in a series filled with comedic absurdities. However, behind the camera, Joyce's life was anything but stable. While she became beloved by fans for her portrayal of Janet, her personal and professional life was fraught with struggles. Her career after Three's Company never reached the heights it seemed destined for. Despite her popularity, she was often overlooked for more substantial roles, falling victim to the typecasting that so many sitcom stars face. Joyce's romantic life was similarly tragic. She married, but the relationship fell apart under the pressure of her career struggles and public scrutiny. She had no children, but her personal longing for a family and a stable life never came to fruition. The pain of her failed marriage lingered for years, further deepened by financial issues. Joyce became involved in a series of unsuccessful projects and struggled to make ends meet, eventually retreating from the spotlight. Over time, the years of rejection and personal heartbreak took their toll. In 2025, Joyce is 75 and living in near isolation, a former star whose early fame now feels like a distant memory. Priscilla Barnes was born on December 7, 1953. She joined Three's Company in 1981 at the age of 28, playing Terry Alden, a kind-hearted, level-headed nurse who becomes Jack and Janet's new roommate after Chrissy's departure. Terry brought an air of stability to the group, offering compassion and intelligence in contrast to the more slapstick humor of her co-stars. After Three's Company ended in 1984, she struggled to find roles that matched the popularity and exposure she had gained. Her post-Three's Company career was marked by a series of mediocre television roles and low-budget films, leaving her largely out of the public eye. In her personal life, things were no better. Priscilla married Tom at the age of 30, a man who was later revealed to be emotionally abusive. The marriage was rocky from the start, and their struggles led to a painful divorce after only 5 years. During this time, Barnes became estranged from her family and withdrew from the public eye, preferring the solace of her own company. In the late 1990s, she suffered a personal crisis when she was diagnosed with a life-threatening illness. Now, in 2025, Priscilla is 71 years old and lives in relative obscurity. She rarely appears in public and has distanced herself from the Hollywood scene. Jenilee Harrison was born on June 12, 1958. At the age of 22, she joined Three's Company in 1980, playing Cindy Snow, the bubbly, clumsy cousin of Chrissy. Cindy was known for her physical comedy and sweet demeanor, and her role was pivotal in filling the void left by Chrissy's departure. After Three's Company ended in 1984, Jenilee's career rapidly declined. Although she made guest appearances in a few television series and films, she was often typecast and unable to break free from her image as a sweet, naive character. Her post-show career consisted of sporadic roles that never lived up to the promise her early years in Hollywood had suggested. Jenilee married a man named David in 1987, and they had 2 children, but the marriage was short-lived. The couple divorced in the early 1990s, leaving Jenilee to raise her children alone. After the divorce, she fell into a deep depression, unable to reconcile her fading career with the personal pain she was feeling. In 1998, Jenilee suffered a devastating car accident that left her with permanent injuries, both physical and emotional. By 2025, Jenilee is now 66 years old and lives a quiet, reclusive life. Her former glory as Cindy Snow is long forgotten by the public, and she has little contact with the outside world. Gino Conforti was born on January 30, 1932. In 1981, at 49 years old, he portrayed Felipe Gomez, the enthusiastic and humorous chef at Angelino's restaurant, in Three's Company. Felipe was a character who added a sense of warmth and comedy to the show, always eager to involve Jack in culinary mishaps and offering comic relief with his over-the-top personality. Despite his early promise, Gino's career never truly took off. Though he had been active in the industry for decades, his roles were mostly limited to side parts, and he struggled to land major roles that could showcase his full range. Gino married 3 times, with each union ending in disillusionment. His first marriage to Carol, a fellow actress, ended when she left him for a younger man, leaving him brokenhearted and distrustful of relationships. His second marriage, to Paula, ended after her affair with a close friend of his, shattering his already fragile trust in people. Gino's third wife, Tanya, left him after he fell into a deep depression due to his career's stagnation and his inability to maintain financial stability. His alcoholism became his primary coping mechanism, further driving a wedge between him and his loved ones. By 2025, Gino, now 93, lives alone in a small apartment, his career in ruins and his personal life irreparably damaged. Jordan Charney was born on April 1, 1937. In 1979, at 42 years old, he joined Three's Company as Frank Angelino, the demanding and often irritable owner of Angelino's restaurant, where Jack Tripper worked. Frank Angelino was a character who embodied the pressure of running a business and the frustration that came with the responsibility of managing his restaurant. While Jordan's role on Three's Company marked one of his more notable TV appearances, his career was a constant struggle to break out of typecasting. Despite years of acting, Jordan's career never reached the heights of other sitcom stars, often relegated to roles as angry bosses or unsympathetic figures. His personal life mirrored his professional challenges, with 2 failed marriages, both of which ended due to his inability to balance work and home life. His first wife, Janet, left him after years of emotional neglect, and his second marriage to actress Schedeen was doomed by his constant infidelity and the strain of his career struggles. The lack of stability in his personal life weighed heavily on Jordan, and his relationships with his 2 children, Jennifer and Robert, became increasingly strained. By 2025, Jordan, now 87, lives in relative obscurity, his days marked by loneliness and regret. And Schedeen was born on January 8, 1949. In 1978, at the age of 29, she joined Three's Company as Linda, a charming and supportive character who offered friendship and advice to the main trio. Linda's role, while small, brought a sense of normalcy and maturity to the otherwise chaotic lives of Jack, Janet, and Chrissy. After gaining some recognition from the show, and struggled to find substantial roles that could match the potential she had shown. Her career was plagued by typecasting, and despite her acting talent, she was often overlooked for more prominent roles in favor of younger, more marketable actresses. In her personal life, Anne's first marriage to fellow actor Richard Palmer was marked by emotional neglect and growing resentment, culminating in a painful divorce. Her second marriage to businessman Tom Buchanan lasted for over a decade, but the relationship soured as Anne's struggles with depression and her inability to cope with the pressures of fame took a toll on both her and Tom. They eventually separated, and Anne found herself alone, battling loneliness and the isolation that came with a fading career. She had 1 daughter, Lisa, from her first marriage, but her relationship with Lisa became strained as Anne's emotional health declined. By 2025, Anne, now 76, lives a quiet, reclusive life, having long since faded from the public eye. Who is your favorite character from Three's Company? How do you feel knowing that some of the actors have passed away? Don't hesitate to leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this content, please remember to like, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you won't miss future videos. Thank you so much.